Welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, your host, and this is episode 58, recorded on the 2nd of October 2013. And you can see all of my episodes on my vid blog, walkinpark.com, walkinpark.com, not walk in the park, because I couldn't get that domain, but walkinpark.com. So, all right. This time, we are going to go to a couple of Finger Lakes Land Trust preserves. In fact, you can see, you might be able to read my hat up here. It says Finger Lakes Land Trust, because I'm a member of the Land Trust. So we're going to start off by going over, well, look at this map here. See a couple of sub-watersheds of Cayuga Lake, including that of Cascadilla Creek, which is east of Cornell, east of Ithaca, and then southeast of Ithaca is Sixmile Creek. Well, first we're going to go to Cascadilla Creek, and later we'll go to Sixmile Creek. But before that, we're going to go up in the air and actually look at Cascadilla Creek. This is an aerial photograph taken by my friend Bill Hecht, who likes to get up in the plane and take pictures like this. So here it is, cutting right down through East Hill with the Cornell campus on the left and College Town on the right. That's Cascadilla Glen, that Cornell Plantations Preserve. And then a little farther up in the air, you can look at the Cornell campus, and on the right-hand side of it, you can see a green swath. That is the Cascadilla Creek, and on the left, you can see Beebe Lake and Fall Creek and Ithaca Falls. But way in the back is the watershed of the Cascadilla Creek up in there. So, well, now we're going to look at the road map and go east of Ithaca to go over to Ellis Hollow area. Now, I don't know how well you can make this out, but if you go directly east of Ithaca, you'll get onto, well, you go into Ellis Hollow Road and Ellis Hollow Creek Road, and off in there, east of Cornell, up into Ellis Hollow. And there is a preserve up there on the north side of Ellis Hollow Road. This is the Finger Lakes Land Trust map of it, and there's actually two parts of it, one on the left, one on the right. And we're going to visit the one on the left. So I'm going to just read a little bit about what the Land Trust has written about it. It says, need a break from the hassles of everyday life? A walk through the fern-carpeted forests of the popular Ellis Hollow Nature Preserve in the town of Dryden, accompanied by an orchestra of birds, could be just the thing. Or in winter, take your cross-country skis to enjoy one of the peaceful, snow-covered loop trails. The parking area and initial stretch of trail on the north side of Ellis Hollow Creek Road gives no hint of what's to come. The beginning of the trail goes through a power line right away, choked with non-native honeysuckle, with a natural gas pipeline station close by on your right and overhead power lines on your left. But after about 500 feet, you'll enter a forest of tall, straight oaks, maples, hickories, basswood, black cherry, white ash, and birch. So anyway, that's really cool. There's these loop trails that go up in there. You can take various ones. I got up in there and got a little confused, because my map didn't print out on my printer too well, but I ran out of ink. That is not their fault. But I spent a couple of hours roaming those trails and went all the way in the back on that red trail. So that was pretty cool. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to take you a little visual picture into the Ellis Hollow Nature Preserve. Okay. So one of the first things I noticed there was one of the first examples of the blooming of New England aster. Now, this was about 2 weeks ago. So they've been, there are lots of them out now, but this is one of my favorite fall wildflowers, and it is for many because it is so colorful. And you find it along the sides of roads and fields and so forth. And here we go into the preserve. There's that trail, and the gate there, and nature trail sign. Go up in there, and finally we get up in the woods. And this is what it's like. Now, a long time ago, maybe a century ago, this was actually farm fields for the most part, but it's grown up. So you have a century-old forest here, some pretty big trees, and some indications of ways to take care of this preserve, not to ride mountain bikes and that sort of thing in there, because they tear up the trail, cause erosion, and do damage to native plants and so forth. There's some more walking along the trail there. There's some big beech trees there on the right. Now, beech trees are becoming less and less common because, well, here's one here that died and broke off. because there is something called beech bark disease, which there is evidence of it in this preserve, unfortunately, and many other places around here. And here's a beech tree, the same tree that broke off as the rest of the trunk of the tree. So the beech bark disease is widespread. It came to us from Europe. Let me see, I've got some information here I have to find. But it came to us some time ago. So we can get this open here, yes. Cause mortality and defects in beech trees in the eastern United States and Europe. Let's see, I'm not sure exactly where it came from. I thought it came from Europe, but we'll see. It was first documented in Europe in 1849. It was believed that an insect was the main cause of the disease. That's what they initially thought. So here's a picture of a sick tree here. And but really, it's caused by two organisms. There's a scale insect, Cryptococcus phagasuga, and phag means beech, attacks the bark, creating a wound. Now that's the organism that comes from abroad somewhere. Later, two different fungi, Neonectria vaginata and Neonectria ditissima, common in North America, can invade the tree through the wound, causing a canker to form. In subsequent years, new cankers will continue to form, ultimately leading to the death of the tree. So, so here actually we see the white stuff is the scale insect that covers over with this waxy stuff to protect itself. That has been feeding through a hole in the bark it's made, and then the dark areas are the Neonectria fungus that is killing the tree. So I guess if these invasive scale insects had not gotten here, they would not, the fungus wouldn't be able to get in the tree so easily. So here's the range. You can see the green there is the native range of our American beech, and then the Neonectria is that sort of pinkish area, and then the scale is insect that is also in that area and larger areas. So it is spreading. It's pretty well across New York State, and it's spreading into other states, as you can see. So it's one of those sad stories of losing our beech trees, along with many other trees, where ash are going to be taking a big hit soon with the emerald ash borer, as you may know. So anyway, I thought I'd tell that story with these dead beeches here. But let's continue along the trail, and it's a pretty trail. I love this path. At times I felt I was wandering in a hardwood forest in the Adirondacks. It just was so lovely. And here's a stream here. There's a couple of little streams you cross. Now, if it's really wet, like some of the rains we've had this summer, you may not be able to cross these streams, but it had dropped down. These are small streams. They respond quickly to changes in the weather. So actually I have a little video which I am going to play you. Very short. Let's see here. Yeah, right here. Okay, just to give you a little feeling of actually being there and with sound and movement. So it's a lovely preserve, and just go online to the Finger Lakes Land Trust, and you can Google that, or it's www.fllt.org, Finger Lakes Land Trust Preserve. And this one last image from it is the preserve, of course, is surrounded by private lands, and there's actually a small inholding that they ask people to respect the privacy in the lands of their neighbors. So that's true in any preserve or park or anywhere else. So, okay, so that was one preserve. Now we're going to go to the 6 Mile Creek watershed and go way up. Now you see that is an interesting shaped watershed. There's several branches of 6 Mile Creek that coalesce to form the creek that we know in Ithaca. Well, the one that comes from the upper right, the northern branch of 6 Mile Creek, is where we're going to go up into Hammond Hill and Star Stanton Hill area, the state forests up there. So here's another Bill Hecht photo looking from Ithaca, from the edge of Ithaca, out to the east, and you can see the city reservoirs up in there, and continue beyond that on the horizon. Here we go up the city reservoirs, and then up to the upper left, up in that area is where we're going to go. So we'll go to another road map, looking east of Ithaca again. Look all the way over to the lower right corner of the map. We go up to Slaterville Springs. Okay, Slaterville Springs, you can see that down there. Or you can go up to Dryden, because this road, Midline Road and Irish Settlement Road, that is the red road on the right that goes between Dryden and Slaterville Springs. And I usually go from the Slaterville Springs side, but you can go from the Dryden side. And just to the right, let's see, you see the road goes up Midline Road, and then it sort of angles up to the right, becomes Irish Settlement Road. Then you see a sign there that says 162A. Right in that area, about right in that area, is where the preserve is, Hammond Hill State Forest. So it's all connected there. So now we're going to go to the preserve map, and there's two portions to it. The lower portion, in the left center, is the called the Baldwin Tract, and then there's a newer portion that was opened up this summer. We had a dedication of a trail and boardwalk there, trail that connects to Hammond Hill State Forest. But part of the whole Emerald Necklace program of the Finger Lakes Land Trust to try to create a necklace of some 50,000 acres or so of publicly accessible wild lands east, south, and west of Ithaca and Finger Lakes area. Okay, so we're going closer here to the lower part of the preserve, and you can see up the upper left there it says P, that's where you park, right along Irish Settlement Road. And there's some trails. You can see there's some trails marked in there, different colors, and you can walk in. It's not real far, but I spent a lot of time in there because there was so much interesting stuff that I encountered. So we're going to take a look at, let's see here. Yeah, I think we're going to give us another little video introduction to this place, and then we'll get into the discussion. So go back to this image, another little video coming up. Okay, so there's a brief little introduction. So we start off at the parking lot. There is the preserve sign, and there's some neat wildflowers that are fall wildflowers out. Now these are some white asters. I tried to look them up. The fall asters. There's so many different kinds. I tried to look them up and basically found out that there are many kinds, and they sometimes intergrade, and you can't always tell them apart. So they're just nice white fall asters. And of course, there is the New England aster. Lots of that there, and there was quite a bit out. Looking in the background there from where the sign is, you can see Hammond Hill, and that's Hammond Hill State Forest. And at the northern portion of the Roy H. Park Preserve is the Hammond Hill State Forest and the trail connecting between the preserve and the forest. And it's a pretty neat route and a nice collaboration with the Department of Environmental Conservation. So now we're going to walk back into the preserve here. One of the first things you encounter is this informational kiosk, which has a lot of interpretive information and very stewardship type of information, so for some of the history of the place. Let me see what I can find for you here. This diverse, scenic, and inviting 217-acre preserve is a short drive from Ithaca on the back roads of Dryden. It encompasses portions of an extensive forest, rolling meadows, wetlands, a rugged stretch of 6-Mile Creek along its headwaters. The preserve borders Yellow Barn State Forest, Hammond Hill State Forest, and the Cornell Old 600 Natural Area, making an important connector in a larger array of some 8,000 acres of protected lands. The preserve adds another gem to the Emerald Necklace, the Land Trust initiative to create a continuous crescent of 50,000 acres of protected lands around Ithaca, and is the first major protected land linkage achieved under that initiative. Okay, so zoom in here on a little bit on their sign. Let's see. Reading down through here. The Baldwin Tract. An easy meandering trail on the Baldwin Tract, the Park Preserve, accessed from the south parking area, leads you through a meadow that encircles a beautiful evergreen plantation, all of which used to be an agricultural field, with a spur going through mature forest and leading to the hemlock-studded gorge and waterfalls along 6-Mile Creek. In April 2007, the Land Trust acquired the first 80 acres of land for this nature preserve, adjacent to land subject to a conservation easement donated to the Land Trust by Frank and Blythe Baldwin in 1991. December 2007, the Baldwins sold the 57-acre property to the Land Trust at a greatly reduced price and added the new preserve. The Land Trust purchased another 167 acres in 2010, of which 80 acres merged with the Park Preserve. So anyway, the Park Foundation has provided important funds, and that's why they're honored with the name of the preserve, and very vital funds to be able to purchase these important segments of the preserve. Now there's a lot of, well, here's some interpretive information. The diversity of habitats found within this preserve are the result of its landscape features as well as the land use history of the site. Farmed until our nation's bicentennial, much of the site was once a cornfield. Today, this same area sustains a mix of planted spruce and pine interspersed with areas of meadow. To the rear of the property, mature hardwoods and hemlock groves are now approaching 150 years of age. So lots more information on there. I'm not going to go through it all. Talking about spruce plantations. The spruce plantation, as it grows, will eventually become too tall and dense for prairie warblers, but may become more suitable for other rare breeding bird species. New breeding bird species, I should say, not rare necessarily. So there's a spruce plantation. And so we'll take a look at also a couple of the other stewardship messages they have on there and explanations of some of the things that the Land Trust is doing. These are obviously temporary signs put up at the kiosk. Seriously, no camping, fires, hunting, trapping, fishing, horses, bicycles, motor vehicles, littering or collecting. Hey, you can't do anything, can't have any fun. Well, this is what we're going to do to try to take care of our nature preserve. It's not a picnic area necessarily, or a camping area. Asking people to keep their dog under control and clean up after them. In fact, it looks like they've had a problem, so all dogs must be kept on a leash. and in the wildlife preserve. And here's explanation of why they cut down some spruce and pine trees in the preserve that were encroaching on the meadow and trying to maintain the diversity of habitat. There's a pine tree there. They didn't cut down that one. And there's also some invasive shrubs that have entered the preserve that you may see cut. So you'll see some management, ecological management practices going on, and it's not damage, it's control of invasive species, or try to maintain the successional stage of a particular part of the preserve so that you'll have biological diversity, a very important thing. Let's go for a walk now. Let's get out there. And nice, this is walking through the old fields and past some trees are starting to turn through an aspen grove, not very big, but there it is. And then I came upon, I stopped and spent quite a while looking at a monarch butterfly. I had hardly seen any monarch butterflies this year, so I took a closer look, and wow, I got a lot of pictures. So this was great. This guy was on the New England aster. Actually, this gal, it's a female as it turns out. And how can you tell? Well, there's these little thickenings in the veins of the wing, two of the veins of the wings of the male, and they're slightly smaller, I understand. No, maybe they're slightly larger. Actually, they may be larger. Anyway, I couldn't tell you otherwise. But when they are feeding on the nectar of the flowers, they feed on nectar of a lot of different flowers. They sort of fold their wings back and just hang there for a while. And I got the shots with them opening their wings, which of course I wanted to get, only when they were moving from blossom to blossom or inflorescence to inflorescence. But most of the time they were like this, and that was pretty cool. So a couple of other shots here. Beautiful monarch butterfly. Well, the monarchs, I'll tell you a little bit about their life cycle. Some people have actually grown monarchs and have collected the leaves from milkweed plants. Common milkweed is the food not of the adult monarch butterfly, but of the larva. So the adult monarch butterfly lays its eggs in the spring on the leaves of the common milkweed, which then hatch out and go through several stages, molts or instars as they're called, as the caterpillar, which is very colorful, eats the milkweed, and it gets this chemicals from the milkweed sap, which are very poisonous to predators. So it's a very colorful larva, because if a bird tries to eat that and says yuck, it will spit it out and it won't eat another caterpillar like that. Similarly with the adults. But eventually they pupate. They go through metamorphosis and they form a pupa, and that goes through several stages, and here it's ready to emerge. And here is a picture that shows, by the way, these pictures of the growth stages of the monarch are from Wikimedia, so they are sort of in the public domain. Here is showing stages of the monarch butterfly emerging from its pupal case there into an adult butterfly to go out and land on a flower or go to some milkweed and lay an egg. And let's see what else we have here. Okay, a few more pictures like that. I just went nuts taking pictures of the monarch. Now the monarchs are also, not only are they very colorful, but they are perhaps best known for being one of the few insects that migrates over great distances. And our monarchs actually go all the way to a mountain area of Mexico and spend the winter in a remote mountain area in some pine forests. They spend the winter. And on the West Coast monarchs go down to Southern California. That's where these monarchs are from. And there's a cycle. These are down, this is what, Santa Cruz area perhaps. I actually saw them down at Natural Bridge State Park one November. I was down there. And there were all these monarch butterflies wintering on the eucalyptus trees there. So, but in the eastern and the central U.S. monarchs go to the mountains of Mexico, and it looks like some of them may even go to the Yucatan, the ones that are in Florida. So I'm going to show you a another short video that I found online that shows the migration routes of the monarch butterflies. So let's get that up. Okay, so that was, you might have noticed the German words on there. That was made by a scientist in Germany. But it actually takes about 4 generations for the monarchs to moving in the spring from, say, Mexico up into the central United States and northeastern United States up into Canada. They stop and let, feed. They maybe up to 2 months maybe they live, and then they lay eggs, and then the next generation moves on, and then they turn around, they come back in late summer and into the fall and head back towards Mexico. And by the time they get back there, then they go into what's called diapause, and they spend the winter on the trees down in Mexico, and then start it again in the spring. But it's amazing that they don't, the same butterflies don't go back and forth through generations, yet they can remember where they're going somehow biologically. So now our monarchs are in trouble. You may not have noticed many of them, and we had a drastic drop off of monarch populations. And the principal, well, there's certainly been a threat to the wintering areas in the forests of Mexico, in the mountains, in those mountains, and now there's been a lot of big conservation efforts to protect them. But one of the biggest problems has become the use of, let me see if I can find the, one of the increased planting of genetically modified corn and soybeans in the U.S. Midwest and elsewhere, which has led to greater use of herbicides, which in turn kills the milkweed that is a prime food source for the butterflies. So we have been destroying our monarch butterfly food source with the heavy and greatly increased use of genetically modified corn and soybeans that are resistant to Roundup and that sort of thing. And okay, so that's about all we have time for today. I've got a few other images here back down through, but I can't really show you much of the preserve now because we're almost done. This is red panicled dogwood, which I found a bunch of, and then down in the woods by the Sixmile Creek gorge, and that's where we'll end up. So I want to thank you all for joining me today, and hope you have a good week. If you want to see more of our shows, walkinpark.com, and we'll see you again soon.